I just have a question. What's up with you? Shoot him, man. Yeah. The more I say that, the older I feel. Sit down, man. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا فمن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وما بعد السلام عليكم. This class is about giving salah. Now it's a joy. No, I'm just it's a great honor and a great privilege to share this space with you. MashaAllah, we have both online and in person, a very small group today. And as a result of which, I am reluctant to actually read from the Shama'il. But I would love to converse with you guys. I mean, it is Pride Month, so lots of questions about, actually at 7:30, I'm pre-recording a webinar for Yaqeen Institute with Sheikh Omar Suleiman and Sadr Sultan and Mustafa, I forget his name. And it's all about Pride Month and stuff like that. So of course, I'm still gathering my thoughts. I mean, I'm always gathering my thoughts until I start speaking into the microphone. Even when I'm speaking into the microphone, I'm still gathering my thoughts. After I finish the lecture, I'm still gathering my thoughts. Like, I could have said, no, it would have been better if I placed that there. So I'm always writing the speech, even after it has concluded. Anything on your mind? About that or about anything else? Inshallah.
No, I had to put up
I've been trying to do it more and more. Just say, yeah, I'll meet you tomorrow. And I say to myself, inshallah. You know what I'm saying? But everybody responds, inshallah. I think it's one of those things that has started to kind of serve a dual purpose. It's are you familiar with the term virtue signaling? Yeah, virtue signaling. So, when an act of supposed virtue is completely disconnected from purpose. No, that's different. Virtue signaling is like, even though you are a cisgender male, you put your pronouns at the end of your emails. Even though nobody would mistake you for someone who maybe had a discordant pronoun, you still put, just to symbolize that you are committed to that movement. That a lot of people deride virtue signaling. Like it's a cheapening of virtue. It's just a way. It's not the same way that some people, even riding in their cars all alone, they wear masks, which is it's like I don't know, maybe the COVID will come through the exhaust, but it's symbolizing a commitment to caring for other people. It symbolizes a commitment to being self-aware in effort to minimize harm that could come to others. It symbolizes a willingness to be uncomfortable, to protect the vulnerable, etc. So it's not about actually protecting yourself from germs. It's about signaling to other people my virtue, that I'm connected to this or that. And so a lot of people on the political right, they hate virtue signaling. They feel like this is just because, in their very limited thinking. They think that it's only people on the left that virtue signal. Well, no, people on the right virtue signal. When they put the Blue Lives Matter flag on their car, or I mean, they have those same kind of signals to people like them. And I was thinking about, I said, Muslims also virtue signal, but Muslims honor that. This is called the shi'ar of Islam, like those things that we just associate with Islam. Like when you see them, it's like a person in doing them or saying them or referencing this, they're actually signaling their commitment to an Islamic regime of sense. Like, oh yeah, I'm one of those too, right? Inshallah, I'm softening my earlier position. I think it's one of those things. It's one of those, when a person is speaking to me or texting me, and I read inshallah after their statement, I automatically read into that, even if I know nothing about the person, a certain level of religious practice, right? And in that way, it signals a virtue, and it makes me feel more comfortable with expressing that part of who I am, right? Whereas if you're dealing with a Muslim who never says inshallah, they never invoke God, they never send salawat, they never praise God while speaking, you might start to feel like, yo, am I being weird here? Or like, is it like, am I cool if I do? I mean, I wouldn't, but I know a lot of people would. You start feeling like, and I get that. So sometimes I think we say inshallah to each other just to kind of encourage that, right? It's not necessarily a pretentious thing, but I do recommend that, people try saying it to Allah and not typing it from time to time. Just to make sure that, they can separate devotion from performance. Because that, like, inshallah, that you heard me say inshallah, different than me saying inshallah. For me to say, bismillah before commencing some action is different than me wanting you to hear me say bismillah and then start the car. It's different than, if I just say, whether no one's in the car, that's a lot different than me looking at you and saying, but I get it though, and also too, I mean, to that point, most people are not that individualistic. We're not. People are not that unique. People are not that self-determined. Most people reflect the values, the mores, the morals of the society in which they live. And it's always been like that. You know what I'm saying? So making an effort to kind of create a world where saying inshallah, mashallah, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad is normal, cool, encouraged, something that we mutually engage in, I think certainly has its merit as well. So that certainly has its merit as well. So if you want to type, I get
This is a reminder, at least, like, you have to say it.
yes, but sometimes it's like, I said it, but you just didn't hear me say it. But did you have to hear me say it? Is this, a test? Are you my judge? Or, I said it. It's a combination of all of those things. We have a small group today, so we're just talking. We're just talking. Any questions, ideas?
We talk about it.
Yeah.
I'll give you the same. Right?
Like, and some people actually like do it as if they're correcting you. You say, "Yeah, I'll catch up with you tomorrow." Inshallah. It's like,
But I mean, the thing is, if it's really like that, then people see everybody.
Yes, yeah, but they don't. It was, but they don't. They say it's a Muslim.
Yeah.
You know, and this is when I think it begins to cheapen. You know, a lot. I mean, I get encouraging each other, but there's a thin line between that and performance. But I get, you know, because you have some people, they have completely different personalities, bro. I mean, you wouldn't believe. I mean, bro, you wouldn't believe this. I mean, there's a guy who goes to the masjid and his whole like attitude is like, oh my God, those women, I can hear their voices. You know, it is like, oh my God, there's a sister over there. I mean, her feet, these women are just so brazen, you know. And this same guy will go to work on Monday, like, hi, Susan, how are you? I love that floral dress. You know, you're just like, what? You know, it's strange. It smacks of such an insincerity that it's strange. And then, I mean, and there's a lot of people that do that, men and women. Sisters, I'm not letting sisters off the hook. There's sisters that, you know, I remember, man, this isn't the same person, but I used to ride the bus in Egypt. Bad idea. If you ever travel to Egypt, mashallah, whoa, welcome. Wa alaikum salam, welcome, please come in. If you ever travel to Egypt, taking the bus, you will really get to know the people. Up close and personal. I'm talking about. Oh, if you go to the second floor, they will be able to give you one. Yes. Oh, he's on the fourth floor. Fourth floor. He should be in the office. Monday was live. What's your name, sir? Renita, I'm Ubaidullah, or Ubaid, or Will, whichever one works easy. Monday at 5:30. And give our best to your daughter. All right. So if you take the bus in Egypt, you are going to get to know the people up close and very personal. And I don't think they have the same rules about personal space, right? And sometimes a woman wearing the niqab would get onto this bus in which we're packed like sardines and tell everybody to move because she was just too pure to brush up against a man. We'll look at mine. It's about 120 people on this bus, and the capacity is 50. What you want me to do? You know, and she would have the nerve to stay. Be shy. Go, this way. You know, you look around. Come off of it. Stop now. Stop. You know, I think there's some of this stuff is just impractical in its performative nature. You know, it's like I never forget now, freezing in a snowstorm, walking home, west side of Chicago. Saw there were very few. It was snowing so hard. There were very few cars even on the street. I saw the car of a friend of mine coming from the direction of the masjid, and I started to wave him down, like, pick me up. He gave me salam and kept going. I'm like, dude, it's a blizzard out here. I called him, he didn't answer the phone. The next day, I finally got in touch with him. He said, actually, I have my wife with me. I said, what was I gonna do? I was gonna get in the back of the car and go home with at least two of them. Like I have, you know, it's like I'm thinking, what did you think I was gonna have my wife with me? I'm thinking, do you take your wife to the mall? Yeah, sometimes. Supermarket? Yeah, sometimes. Walks in the park? Yeah, sometimes. Are there other men there?
Oh, because you were male.
Right. Are there other men there? Yeah. Does it prevent you from going to those places? No. Why would it make you leave me freezing in a blizzard? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, so some of this stuff is it's just like, as they used to say, things that make you go, you know, things like, what are we performing? It's been.
I have a question similar to this topic, but, I've heard that if a man and a woman, like the woman's wudu is broken, have you ever heard of that?
The position on wudu are three. Right. Now, first off, okay, we'll deal with the positions on wudu are three. There's one school of jurisprudence. This is the Hanafi school. They say that any kind of touching between a male and female has no effect on wudu, whether it's kissing, hand holding, anything short of actual intercourse does not have any effect on wudu. The other position is to the opposite extreme. Imam Shafi'i, he said any touching between a male and a female that can get married or are married, right? So this is not mom and son, not aunt and niece, not father-daughter, but any two people that can be married, just their casual, even unintentional touching of one another with the palm invalidates the wudu, it breaks the wudu. The wudu is effectively broken by virtue of that. And then the middle position is the position of the Maliki school that says that amorous touching, like touching that contains some lust. So if, and the way that lust or the way that sexual charge is described in this ruling, if it's intended or experienced. So even if it's not intended, but it's experienced. So if somebody does brush up against you and there's oh my God, you have to make your wudu, right? If you intend that, man or wife says to their husband or wife, come close to me on the couch. Then you have to remake but you're grabbing not like in a friend, come close to me. You know what I'm saying, right? So it's that kind of touching breaks the wudu. Other kinds of touching does not. And it gets tricky when you're trying to distinguish the amorous or romantic from the compassionate. Because a wife kisses her husband on the head or he kisses his wife on the cheek. It's not necessarily a passionate gesture. It could just be a platonic gesture, a gesture of friendliness. But kissing on the lips, they generally say breaks the wudu.
Yeah, it's interesting because like at work, we've been like dealing with this weird dynamic on our team. We now have men for, and so our community is usually like hug or like do like a fist bump or something. But now since I heard this, I'm like,
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The other issue with that, I mean, it's very hard. I will say when it comes to like handshaking and stuff like that, if I am to have some integrity, like me, obey the law. If I'm in a situation in which I'm crossing paths with someone and probably will never see them again, and a woman extends her hand for a handshake, I'll probably just shake it. I'm not saying this is ideal. I'm not saying this is right, but I feel like in that moment, there's so much that one has to explain. It's just, you're about to leave, I'm about to leave. On the other hand, if this is someone that I see regularly, we work out at the same gym, we dine at the same places, or you're a colleague, then I have to have a talk with you because I don't want to be made to feel uncomfortable every time I see you at work and I see you 5 times a week. I'm gonna have to just tell you, I don't shake hands with men, or I don't shake hands with women, and it has nothing to do with me devaluing women or thinking that women are unclean or some god-awful idea like that. It is because we understand physical touch to be the door to intimacy. It is the, not to get all crazy. But I mean, it's just a few of us here. Why not get a little crazy? Why not get a little crazy? I was sitting with a scholar, and I'll probably get some feedback on this because this is an interesting point. And he was saying that, this is a fairly new thing, like all of this romantic emphasis on visuality, like how somebody looks. He said, his opinion, and I tend to agree. He said, most of our hyper assessment of potential romantic partners on the basis of their looks is really about our egos. It's really just about when I walk down the street with this person. What it's not about, because the second part of his thesis was, if you judged romantic attraction on the basis of touch, meaning if it were halal, I could enjoy touching them and they would enjoy touching me, you would probably appreciate a much wider range of body types, physical types. If you were thinking about, that could grow on you a lot more in terms of who in an intimate space I would enjoy touching, right? Because the basis of intimacy is really touch. He said, all of this focus on visuality and looks, this is all about ego. This is you just thinking, is this person attractive enough to uphold whatever I would like to think about myself socially, or whatever I want to be known about me socially? Does this person's appearance suggest that? Or does it suggest something less than that? And if you need just vulgar proof of that, there are lots of people who have physical relationships with people in haram, dark places that they don't want to be seen with publicly. They don't want to be, meaning like their ego is not ingratiated by that person. It's not satisfied by that person. But they can physically actually be satisfied quite a bit by that person. But the ego is what's important to them. It's like, no, nobody can know that, this is a person that is not the standard of beauty, but it really doesn't bother me. It actually doesn't prevent me from having a meaningful physical relationship with this person at all. Behind a closed door, it really does not bother me. But what will they think when they see me with this person? I can't let that. You understand what I'm saying? But in that sense, we regard touch as very sacred. Touch is not, we've become such a touchy-feely society that a person has a kind of inviolable sanctity. I cannot touch anybody who doesn't give me permission to touch them. The idea that I just have this unspoken cultural right to just touch people, that's crazy. No, I won't say it's crazy. It's very different culturally. It's like, wait, hold on a second. We actually don't even believe that you have the right to look at people in a way that could potentially objectify them. You don't have that right. God says to men and women to lower your gaze, meaning you don't have the right to lustfully stare at somebody, right? That is an invasion of their privacy. To ogle them and to analyze them, the contours of their face, the curves of their body, all of that's haram. Egypt is the most sexual and harassing place in the world. Now, they woof, they make sounds.
There was one girl from Czechoslovakia. She goes, "What does it mean when someone do this?"
They do that everywhere you go in Egypt. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But which is really, to me, I'm not explaining away, But that kind of brazen sexual harassment, this is just a sign of how sexually repressed these people are. That in a poor country, you gotta have gold, diamonds, a gift for dad, a fully furnished apartment to ask for someone's hand. So you'll probably be 50. In the meantime, you're on the street like a lunatic going, no. It means, it's sad. It's sad, right? But like even looking at somebody that way is an invasion of their privacy. So what then for touching them? And it's strange I've been Muslim long enough that it's strange that some people feel the right to just touch you. Like the person thinks that they can just come up to you and, hey, I don't even like a man to touch me like that. Now, it is a part of our cultural ritual to extend hands for a handshake. But other than that, will probably, wait a minute, bro. Unless we're engaging in some activity where touching is implied, like we're playing basketball. Then I do realize that, I'm probably gonna touch you, you'll touch me, or something like that. But just on the street, a guy just come up, yo, what's up? What are you? I don't speak hip hop. What are you? Perversion of contraction. That's not, this to me, I hate it. And I think it is particularly objectifying to women. Because there's a certain I think all of us have that kind of that emphasis on visuality. Traditionally, men have been even more visual in that regard. So to have a Rolodex with just the pictures of women that you can scroll through almost like looking for rugs, it's gotta be, I'm thinking, like, even though of course there's a picture and there's a profile, but I think even both of those, it's like, okay, you see the person, you read, some demographic factoids or, snippets of demographic data. And then from that, you say, well, does this person qualify for, or would I like to have a conversation with this person, something like that. I'm not gonna decry it as horrible, because I know many people that have met like that and they have good relationships, but it is kind of like, it's because I think people being attracted to each other, it's an intangible mixture of all of those things. It's the soul, it's some of it is physical, it's the soul, it's interest, it's intelligence, it all comes together. It's personality, it's presence. It's presence, it has, like I think when someone is really attracted to someone else, there's so much that goes into it, right? There's so much that goes into it. I think online dating or whatever Muslim, I don't know what Muslims do, marriage canvassing or something like canvas. I don't know what pursue. Yeah, I think it's almost like it's the difference between driving on a video game and driving an actual car. It's a simulation of some kind. You're at Dave & Buster's and the wheel is like shifting like this, and the little video game image is moving like a road, but you're not actually driving a car. It's not the same thing. I think the same thing is true with those profiles. It's like you're checking out this person, but you're not actually checking them out. And I think it's a rough thing. But if water is absent, then if water is absent, then you make tayammum. If it's the best thing available now that I would suggest that people learn how to use those applications and use them skillfully, to sell yourself, as it were, which is just, I mean, when I think about just the falsity of self-image, it's just like, I always thought of myself as like strong-willed, independent, a rugged individualist. And, my aunt called me last week. She said, Will, you always my favorite nephew. I said, really? And she said, you know why? Because you were absolutely helpless. You were just so sensitive and so needed so much that in the process of taking care of you, I just fell in love with you. Oh, my little nephew. And I was thinking, oh, I'm strong-willed and independent and resolute and firm. What are you saying? I've always been like that. Self-image is so false. And that's why, when in terms of marriage, one of my bond moves when they asked me to officiate a wedding that I know I can throw out and get a laugh. Because I always joke that, marriage profiles, I don't care how pious we pretend to be, how humble we pretend to be, marriage profiles, they bring out the arrogant, conceited jerk in all of us. Because when we read the line, I'm looking for a good brother, strong in his Islam, kind, gentle. We all say, what? That's me. That's me. Here I am. Yeah, I've yet to see one person, even the people that go around, I'm telling you, see the read like one of those marriage profiles, and she says, I'm looking for a strong Muslim. I thought there was some chemistry here, but as soon as she said, I'm looking for a strong Muslim, that rules me out. Anybody looking for a deviant? Anybody looking for a facet? Nobody does that. Everybody, I'm looking for strong Muslim sister, strong Muslim, committed to her faith. Here I am. What? Uh-oh. Thunderstorm. No, salam alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A little bit long. And by the way, when stuff like that happens, just know you're seeing one of the signs of the coming of the Dajjal. And like I was, no, the idea that there is some entity that can notify everybody in the room of the same thing at the same time. That would have been inconceivable 50 years ago. Now that happened to us, and we're not even thinking, who pressed that button?
Now it's inconceivable, it's not on a cell phone.
We're not even thinking, wait a minute, who presses the button? And what other buttons can they press? What if they press the button and the notice they were giving was false? Everyone, oh, let's go. I mean, this is the information age, man. SubhanAllah. But yeah, I think learning to use those applications, learning to use them well. But everybody they're selling themselves. And this is the thing about the nafs. When a person speaks about himself or herself, this highly aggrandized way, they're not actually lying. That really is how they see themselves. That's the thing. They're not lying. It actually takes diligence in talking to people that are willing to be honest with you, asking them, how do you find this person? That you might find some more balance, right? Now, of course, you have the person. Oh, this is awesome. I think that, we have to take more of an active interest in helping Muslim singles see each other, meet each other. I think we have to remove the stigma of a person actively seeking marriage. Like it shouldn't be like something that's done in this clandestine. Like I think, if like I'll be honest with you, if you are a member of a religious community, a full-fledged member, and within that community, there aren't resources to help you make one of the most critical personal and religious decisions you'll ever make in life, that community is not serving you. That community is not serving you. Now, it might not be intentional, but structurally something is wrong. If like we look at the crisis of marriage in our community, this structurally something, this isn't like no Muslim woman should feel like there's something personally inadequate about me. There's something personally that I'm lacking. That something is structurally wrong on many levels. This is one of those places that as someone who travels around the country and interacts with different communities of different ethnic backgrounds, different socioeconomic backgrounds, there's a structural problem that needs to be addressed, that needs to be focused on and rectified. And those issues are, some of them are beyond our control. For starters, a culture of casual sex and hookups is something that irreligious men are much more likely to engage, or even men who are just men of weak flesh. They're much more likely to engage because the consequence of such engagement, both in the loss of their virginity, in a potential pregnancy, the consequences are much less grave, right? So trying to convince such men who are members of our community to get married is kind of like, it's very difficult. It's like, many of them have acquired that very, and it's a sad kind of American attitude that marriage is like, why the hell would you do that? Like why on earth would I do something like that? I mean, I'm out here doing my thing. I'm able to physically access that which marriage offers. I'm able to emotionally access some of what marriage offers without the bottom, of course, family, community, faith, but there's something there. I have some companionship with people. What is the urgency around marriage? Right? A lot of our sisters, even of varying levels of religious commitment, marriage is still what they want. I don't want anything besides marriage. and this is for women that are, mashallah, the most religious to moderately religious to even not very religious. Marriage is still where I want my relationship to be. I want to get married to someone. You know, I want that. So the men are just in just a completely different place. The other thing, we just haven't incentivized marriage among the brothers. Incentivized, meaning like, what's the incentive here? Like what, you know, like, obviously talking about marriage is just a religious requirement. That's not moving this group of people that I have in mind. Okay, then what are the other benefits to marriage? Why? Well, I mean, that you would think that would be something attractive to somebody, that, you know, there's a kind of appeal that, you know, exclusivity has, that, you know, this is my romantic partner, not anyone else's. But this thing is so crazy out here now, man, you know, it's you know, as you said, you know, I'm like, I don't ask any questions. I was with her on Saturday. I don't ask any questions about what happened on Friday. Guys in the barbershop are saying this now. Men, I don't ask what happened on Thursday. I was there on Saturday. Saturday was okay. I don't ask that. I'm gonna leave and I ain't gonna ask what happened on Sunday. No, you know what I mean? You find men saying these things. So, you know, that you know, so in that respect, I think about people that are not religious. I think in this, they are models in a sense. People who aren't getting married to avoid the fire of hell. I mean, why did Cardi B and Offset get married? I mean, if you already were having a physical relationship, what's in the marriage? And I think what you'll find, I don't know how good they're doing as marital partners. I don't know. This is two people who came to my mind. But what you'll find is that what they desired, obviously it wasn't intercourse, because that probably was happening even before marriage. And it wasn't an emotional engagement, because that was probably happening before marriage. It was some kind of commitment. It was the idea of committing to something. And I think some people still recognize, even when they don't have to, committing to something heightens your, if a person is volunteering and they say, I do it when I can. When I can. That's a lot different than saying, I'm going to be here mentoring these kids every Wednesday at 7 o'clock. It's a different level of my commitment to it. Saying, I'll come when I can. Whenever I'm free. It's different. Some people recognize that. Trying to talk to young men about where commitment will enhance a relationship. It'll provide security that will express itself in the marriage, especially for the woman. It will provide security that, okay, he's committing to me. How much more will you get out of that woman in every respect? Emotionally, physically, partnership, everything, because there's some commitment there. We try to sell that, but it sells moderately. There's just a context out there that just makes this just a very, very different conversation for young Muslim men. But suffice it to say, it's not anything that the women are lacking, right? The other thing that I think has also happened is I think TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that has changed beauty standards. I really feel like that. I once talked to an old man from Saudi Arabia, and he was talking about the introduction of television into Saudi and what it did to beauty standards. He said, of course, long before the advent of television, we were a society where women wore face veils. So a man's understanding of attractiveness was really based mostly on the women he had exposure to, the women in his family. That's what he really, when he was thinking, this person is attractive to me, not attractive to me. There were no supermodels And he was thinking, how close does she come to? She wasn't like that. Wasn't like that. Now, what happens when you get accustomed to seeing most people with filters? This becomes the idea when you think about how somebody is supposed to look, right? So that even when you see the same person in person, just without the filter, they catfish me. Thinking catfish you? That's not a person. That's not real. You really thought a human being's faces are the skin is naturally rosy right here with a super smooth. I'm thinking, what the? Huh? This is what you really thought, that everybody's eyes are just that much more slanted and their lips are just wrong. That's what you really, it's sad. But you have young men. Yeah, I was looking at we met on the app, but when I met her in person, I mean, I saw that she catfished me. I said, can I see the profile pic? Yeah, it's a fake picture. I mean, that's a fake picture. That's a fake human. Most human beings don't look like that. So, did she really catfish you? Or is she just responding to this pressure to put that kind of profile pic up there? Because maybe if she didn't, she would get no bites. Nobody would show interest. I mean, this is crazy. I mean, this is crazy. One, we're all adults here. One sister named Shakira Abdullah, and she's African American, PhD. She's a sexologist at Widener University, and she was just talking about the terrible, deleterious effects of pornography on Muslim men in the community. That many of them have come to believe this is what a sexual relationship is supposed to be like this. A movie with no reality to it, paid actors and actresses engaging in depravity for consumption and deliberately calibrated for like maximum effect. So he actually marries a real woman. He says, my sex life is just boring. It's nothing like the movies. There's nothing like the movies. And it's just like, this culture of images is really hurting us as people, man. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't know what to do about it. I mean, this stuff is so pervasive. Even when I go through my daughter's feed, some of the poses, I'm like, where did you learn to do? Who did you see do that? No, really, who did you see do? Where did you learn this? And posing with your mouth like that. Have you any idea how this might be interpreted? Have you any idea, what? And that's the thing that we've lost. I feel like this is one place as a society we've gone absolutely crazy. And the way that we've gone crazy is it's justified as moral, to be crazy. It's now, because there's this culture of consent, nothing is suggestive because the suggestion is nothing. If there's not an explicit consent, then who cares? Anybody can do anything. And I'm thinking, no, there was actually I'm afraid now. I'm not a partisan of rape culture. That's not what I'm saying. But there used to be a social language, right? And I'm talking about between two people that are married or in a physical relationship, that a person could gesture, look certain ways, do certain things to suggest an openness to intimacy. Anybody who's been in a physical relationship knows this. Anyone who's been married knows this. There are certain things that are done, certain things that are conveyed through body language and posture that suggest an openness to intimacy. You have people now that go on their Instagram feeds, engaging in some of those poses, those postures, and then act as though they have no idea what you're talking about. Have you any idea? And I'm not reading your behavior. Maybe you really did that because you just love something. I don't know. Maybe you look like that because, I don't know, as a guy, you were trying to show people how you look when you go to the bathroom. I don't know. I don't know. Is that why you were holding your move? I don't know. What was the purpose of that? What was the, what are you saying here? Yeah, I mean, it's like, what are you? I'm just gonna keep going because I'm probably gonna end just a little bit right there. But yeah, you're thinking, I don't know, man. Just consider this a midlife crisis. It's just a midlife crisis. That's all. I'm living through a midlife. I'm just living through I'm just seeing young people now. It's just like, boy, what is wrong with you, man? What are you thinking, man? I mean, I don't know, man. I'm old. Hello. I'm old. Well, but to your point, yeah, I think anybody who knows Muslim singles, we should all be cautious and reluctant matchmakers. And understanding that, not every match is the right match, but hey, I saw something, I saw something. I was thinking maybe it was something that, I saw something. I see both of y'all shaking your heads saying, and no, and I commend you. I mean, in the sense that to be the women of a community of bums and just enduring it. Because the Muslim men, bums. Bums. When I'm thinking about, and Matt, mind you, I'm traveling all over the country. And if somebody says to me, I'm thinking about marriage, I can probably name maybe 4 or 5 people. So, since I know a lot of people, take your pick, you want him. They're not married and they're good men. I know them to be good men. Which one you want? None of them really work for me. Well, check with me next year. No, that's why deep down, I mean, y'all get me in trouble, man. I'll be telling sisters, man, it might be better. Just try to build your own Muslim man. Try to, you find a guy, he's nice. Hey, what you know about Islam? To build your own Muslim husband. Yeah, you're a nice guy. There's this thing on Monday nights. 5:30. Come, you might like it. Well, so can we go out? Well, you come to the thing on Friday, you come to the thing on Monday at 5:30. See, if it really goes well, maybe we can. Maybe if it really goes well, maybe there can be some kind of chaperone situation. We can go and get to know each other. I don't know. As it stands, probably not. But you ever heard about it? I was making sure you might enjoy that. You know what I mean? Man, try to build your own situation.
There's something that he did that was so great. And I communicate with you. That's the attitude that it was one thing. You even have to pick one of them.
The longer a woman remains single, the more she builds herself, she invests in herself. So at this point now, after many years, in terms of her career, her interests, her accomplishments, what she's done, there really isn't a lot of men. I mean, she will probably end up marrying down if we include the relevance of those kinds of factors. I mean, he can be a very religious, maybe a good man, but she's probably not going to find someone earning as she is or has had the experiences that she has, because she's been able to focus on those things for the last 10, 11 years. That is intimidating. It's like, so you have to choose one of us. None of us maybe know what you know. None of us have gone any places similar to where you have. None of us earn what you earn. None of us have developed ourselves at the level that you developed yourself. But we're male, and you have to choose one of us. So, which one do you want? You know, Mo, Larry, or Curly? The Three Stooges. You know, yeah. Or chefs. You know what I mean? Which one do you want? Mo, Larry, or Curly? You know, and it's really, really, boy. And then too, and the other thing that happens too, I feel like men, as you can see, my outlook is quite bleak. But I think something, there's and this is probably TMI, right? But I'm gonna say it in I think there's a season, when you're like, there's a season in life. There's some, life has certain seasons. And there's certain things that you are ready to engage them at certain times, but if that time like spoils or goes away, it doesn't come back in the same. So like when a man is in his early 30s, late 20s, maybe even from his mid-20s all the way up to his mid-30s, I say he wants the full kind of package. He's thinking about family, my wife, my children. And when he's thinking about a partner, those are the basis that he's using. I'm thinking about like the third and fourth quarters of my life and trying to find someone that I can build something I want there and then enjoy what I build there. Children, family. But as a man gets older, some of those ideals are replaced with it's a much more personal kind of, I'm just really looking for a personal, just a companion. Like when a man is in his voice, like we might not even necessarily need to live together. Right? We might not even, I'm looking for someone that, we can enjoy some activities together, kind of, but I'm not looking for that full domesticated, that I think that's a much younger man's obsession, because I think a younger man wants to test himself in that way. Can I be a contributing element to something like that? A homestead and children that come back to visit their mom and dad, and like a family with a culture that has traditions, and I think that women, in my experience, a lot of them are still holding out for that for a much longer time. They still want a family, a household. I want to build this thing with my partner. And they're looking for that for a much longer time. And that's what you'll find, just, some brothers that are mature in age, going overseas to get married, marrying people that they don't even have a common language with. These are things I've really seen. Like, you went to Morocco, but you don't speak Arabic. She doesn't speak English. Well, you know, we understand each other. Which I think to me symbolizes what he's looking for in partnership. It's a lot different. Somebody's like this family unit, this kind of, you know, he's not looking for that. He's looking for something different. Yeah, these brothers is downright crazy, man. Brothers downright crazy. These brothers crazy. I mean, if it's any there's no consolation in this matter, but I have two daughters. My eldest is 16, my youngest is 6. I'm at E looking at little young kids like, your son, he seems like a nice guy. He's like, actually, he's 8. But he's a mature 8. You know, look at him, just the way he carries himself. I like him. Why don't you guys come over for dinner on Sunday? Try to put something together here. See, have him come by the house. See, I don't know, little play date, see if some, you know, some magic sparks. Little play date, see if some. It's really, mashallah, assalamualaikum, alhamdulillah. Yeah, see if something happens here, man. You know, because it's like, man, it's something that I personally, and like I said, this is TMI, but I personally feel bad about it, personally. I personally know a lot of good sisters trying to marry within the community, unable to find partners, and I just feel like we haven't built the culture that will produce worthy partners for them. You know, we've allowed too much foolishness, irresponsibility, immaturity, boyish silliness to be tolerated. Like we have to encourage, like, bro, it's time to step up, get a real job, stop playing in the street with women with whom you don't have commitment. Like this is not this, like we should have like we should stigmatize that. But we don't do it effectively enough. Like these brothers we know come to the mission, we know they have girlfriends playing around on the side. That should be like astaghfirullah. These sisters in our community need serious, good, solid husbands. If you out here doing this, don't even come around us. Astaghfirullah. But we kind of give it a, oh, astaghfirullah, cute. Oh, like this is wrong. This is wrong. Yeah.
What do you think it takes for a man to become mature? Like, what would you say to these guys that are like, why aren't they? What is not? Like, what is the reason we?
Well, I mean, I think my case is one in which, you know, I was first time I got married, I was 22. I was foolishly hyper religious. You know, I was, woo. You know, in fact, I don't even think I understood the seriousness of marital commitment. You know, I was like, "Assalamu alaikum, sister." What you do? What you doing after mother? You want to get married? I was like, babe, you get married? Not anytime soon, maybe next week. You know what I'm saying? Not anytime soon. Maybe they were just out there straight crazy. You know, it was like, Johnny, you pray? Yes, I pray. You want to get married? You pray to Allah? You read the Quran sometime? I'll make a good husband for you. That's how it was. It was just like that. It was like, and it was, I mean, I was young. I was a convert to Islam. I think I understood myself as being just that simple. Like I was, he was like, she prays. What is there to dislike about her? Yeah, she prays to Allah. Yeah, this could work. I think we'll be fine together. You know what I'm saying? But I think but then also too, my situation was the opposite. You know, my mother and my father separated when I was very young. They were married, mashallah, before I was born, but they separated when I was very young. And and my mother was like from the old school. So even though at that time she wasn't Muslim, I don't think I ever saw my mother with a man because he just wasn't that. I'm sure she probably went out with friends, but I never. So I think I longed as a child to see a man take care of my mother because I felt like she deserved that. And so I felt like I wanted to be somebody's husband. I wanted to open the door and come in and say, you know, like my mother was a professional woman. She was a working woman. And my mother was like, I mean, now that I'm a parent, I'm thinking like, how did she used to go to all of my sister's cheerleading meets, all of my basketball games, all of my baseball games, register me for extracurriculars, and work as a production chemist in a lab 55, 60 hours a week, all the time, and cook dinner, and clean the house on Sundays, and never complained. Never said, you know, this is too hard. Your father should be here. My father never gave her anything. Right? She never said, oh man, how can I do this? And I, you know, I thought my mother was like asexual or something. It's like, people talk about like relationships on my mom's not into that kind of stuff. Romantic partnership. She's satisfied just to care for her kids. So when my sister left home, my sister went to Howard, I went to Yemen, and my mother started dating. I was like, see her with men, and I would be like, what is this? She's like, son, this is my date for tonight. Like, dang, you go on dates? Wait, you like men? You know, it's like, how you think you and your sister got here? In vitro? I don't know. It's like, you go on dates. And it was like a part of me accepting a part of my mom's like humanity. Like, oh, you also need romantic companionship. It was like a revelation to me. Like, I never saw. So I was like eager to be a husband. I was also, because of the absence of my father, I was eager to be a father. You know, I wanted children. I wanted a household. I wanted, you know, to come in and say, tell the boy to help me with the groceries. The bills are paid. You know, like I always dreamed of seeing somebody do that. You know, for my mom. So I wanted to get married. You know, when people told me like, you know, Muslims get married, it was like it was a surprising thing. I was actually in a very committed relationship with. As serious as high school it could be. I accepted Islam when I was 16. You know, as serious as a high school it could be. I had a serious girlfriend when I accepted Islam. You know, I think about that now. It's just so funny because I didn't know the kind of Muslim kind of ethics around dating and physical touching and stuff like that. So I used to go with my girlfriend to the masjid. Tell her, okay, baby, just wait right here. I'm gonna go over here and make my little prayers and come right back out. We're about to go to lunch. You know what I'm saying? They just wait right here. I'm just going. I mean, you know, sometimes the preacher can get a little bit, you know, it might be 30 minutes, 35 minutes. And, yeah, we're gonna go to the mall after this. And my wife, I'm so Muslim now. My girlfriend sit right in the masjid, wait for me to come out with a mini skirt on. Who are you here with? Him? I'll be sitting there. I didn't even know. I was so young when I was like, who are you here with? That guy right there. Aki. What? And I think they could see that I was so green. They didn't even say that. Just like, mashallah. You know, what? That's my girl, man. I told her right this, we're gonna get some lunch. So summertime. Come on, man. Why you tripping, man? I ain't gonna have to wait in the car, you know. I'm in the pro car, ain't got no air conditioning, it's hot. What was the lax to wait in the car? She coming in the next year with some air conditioning. What we doing here, man? It was so crazy, man. It was so crazy. You know, I had no idea. When somebody told me the whole thing, like, you should spend time with that woman. Yeah, you should marry her. I said, marry her? I don't know if I, but I said, you know what, I'm gonna see about it. I'm gonna talk to her about it. I said, Tahani, we might as well go ahead and get married. Like, Will, that's crazy. I'm not thinking about no marriage. I said, you not? That was the end of that. Just talking to Brother Wafiq, telling me I should just go ahead and marry you. Boy, you still live with mom. Guess I didn't think about that part. How you go marry me? You still wait for your mama to bring home the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. Got a point there. We can eat it with 2 spoons. No. Or the same spoon. We are married. No. But so that, but I think for a lot of men, what I've seen successful is talking about it as a constituent part of a deeper kind of self-exploration. That's what there are things about yourself that you won't learn as a man. There are places that you need to grow in order to move closer to completion as a man. That it won't happen as a man unless you're in a relationship. Yeah, I think that. But I mean, but I say that warily. I say that warily because you do have examples of people who are not married. So it's not fair. What I'm saying is, generally speaking, and maybe the same thing doesn't apply to women. I'm just talking about men. And some of this too is, if I can just pull the curtain from the Wizard of Oz, is because I want to see Muslim men and Muslim women married. These aren't statements that I'm like thinking through for nuance, and I'm just trying to say something inspiring. Just trying to say something inspiring to the guy. Of course, if I'm thinking in a circumspect way, marriage is not for everybody. There's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and you don't hear people talk about it a lot, but it's authentic. It was a father, and this hadith says the father, he dragged his daughters to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, something is wrong with this girl. And the Prophet said, what? And he said, she doesn't want to get married. And the Prophet ﷺ said, why? Why don't you want to get married? It's half the deen. And she said, if I marry a man, what is my obligation toward that man? And the Prophet ﷺ just started expressing to her just kind of very basic, salient points about marriage. He said, I couldn't see myself feeling that way about any man. The Prophet looked at her father and said, well, she's made her decision, don't pressure her. It's not for everybody. He didn't say like, stop for Allah. She's made her decision, don't pressure her, leave her alone. So I'm not saying marriage is for everyone. You have some famous scholars of Islam that were not married. Many of them actually, they call it al-ulama al-uzzab, the scholars that remain bachelors throughout their lives. An-Nawawi, Ibn Taymiyyah, At-Tabari, a number of them that they never married. But for most people, I would try to persuade them that this is something they need to do by way of that kind of argument. I mean, there are certain things about who I am and what I can do and how much I can stretch myself, grow myself, that I just don't think I could see myself learning it except being forced to care very deeply for another person who I'm not related to by blood. It's different. Because blood relation is a different kind of relation. Blood relation is more egotistical, actually. Is that people love their families as an extension of loving themselves. This is my family. This is my brother. It's my son. So you have to tell somebody that you love their daughter. It's my daughter. But sometimes the key word is my. It's not they love every daughter. They love every little girl. But with husband and wife, it's not that kind of relationship. It's not that level of that kind of possessiveness is not a part of the relationship. And it's not a relationship that is necessitated by biology, and it can be dissolved, right? So you have to actively commit to it, committed to making it harmonious, committed to making it good. It requires a great deal of work, spiritual work, on behalf of both parties. Whereas, you know, I mean, my father was a negligent father, but I mean, he's my father. I mean, I can't divorce my dad. You're divorced, man. You're not my father here. He's my father. There's nothing I can do about that. You know what I'm saying? My sister's my sister. There's nothing I can do about that. But my wife, no, this is something we consciously choose every day. You're making it an intentional commitment to me. I'm making an intentional commitment to you. And we're doing it under God every day. It's a different ball game, man. It's in terms of just exploring yourself. You know what I'm saying? I would encourage men that, you know, there are things that you learn, man. It's like, I mean, and not all of them are bad. Sometimes you say, man, you learn a lot through marriage. You learn patience, self-sacrifice. You know, you learn that everything that crosses your mind shouldn't be said. You learn timing. You learn to care. No, you also learn joy. You know, joy is one of those things that's more meaningful if it's experienced with another person. Right? You know, joy, happiness. I mean, there's so much that's experienced there that I imagine a one-night stand could never, or a relationship without commitment. What could it ever? What could it just couldn't rival that. Maybe there's an intensity born out of maybe an unknown, but it won't last. It won't last. It'll begin to feel exploitative. It'll begin to feel cheap. It'll begin to feel stupid. That's how we are as human beings. You know, pleasure is fleeting. So if you do something just for pleasure, after a while, you're like, this is dumb. Nobody has a side piece for years. And if you have a side piece for years, that's called de facto marriage, de facto second partner. If it's a side piece for years, it's my side piece for 20 years. That's a misnomer. No, it's a quick, momentary kind of lustful, infatuous kind of relationship, and then its appeal begins to fade after some time for both parties. But marriage is different than that. It requires an intentional commitment. Well, that's my cue. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. آمين يا رب العالمين. بسم الله. Of course. Make dua. Is it raining outside? Sunny, when you